Hey everyone, welcome to Compass Daily. My name's Rory, I'm one of the pastors here, and we are so glad that you've joined us. Hey, before we step into a time of worship and we hear a short message from one of our pastors, we just want to say thank you for your continued generosity in the way that you partner with us. Because of your financial partnership here at Compass, we're able to see people be provided with meals and students be provided with incredible ministry opportunities, and we're able to see thousands of people every weekend engage here at Compass. So we just want to say thank you. And if you want to continue to partner with us, you can go to compass.church/give. You can go to the Compass app, or you can simply text that phrase Compass Church to the number 77977. Again, we just want to say thank you for the way that you join in with us when it comes to generosity. Now, would you join me as we step into a time of worship this morning?
I will sing of your goodness, I will sing of your love. Though the seasons come quickly, you have always been enough. Though the night may get darker, though the waiting seems long, you have always been faithful to remind me of your love. You are good. In the morning I'll sing, you are good. In the evening I'll sing, you are good. You are good to me. You have always been patient. You have always been kind. You're consistent through the ages. Oh, what a friend of mine. So I'll remind my soul to bless you, standing firm upon your truth, knowing you cannot be shaken, 'cause I've seen what you can do. Oh, you are good. In the morning I'll sing, you are good. In the evening I'll sing, you are good. You are good to me. Oh, you're so good. And you are good. In the morning I'll sing, you are good. In the evening I'll sing, you are good. You are good to me. Yeah. You're so good. Keep on, you keep on, you keep on. Keep on getting better. You 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 keep on getting better. Yes, you do. Keep on getting better. You keep on getting better. Oh, you keep on getting better. 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 Yes, you do. Keep on getting better. You keep on getting better. We believe. You keep on getting better. You keep on getting better. Are good. In the morning I'll sing, you are good. In the evening I'll sing, you are good. You are good to me. Yeah. 'Cause you are good. In the morning I'll sing, you are good. In the evening I'll sing, you are good. You are good to me.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Compass Daily. Thanks for being a part of Compass. Everybody here probably already knows this, but our mission is navigating people to God. My name's Rob. I'm one of the pastors here, and I'm really excited to be going through this whole process of studying the book of Mark. I love the Bible. I really do. And I've loved the journey God's put me on studying the Bible. But if I'm going to be honest, Mark chapter 5, verses 1 through 20 is where we are today. And it's kind of one of those uncomfortable stories because it's a story about somebody who's been demon possessed. Now, before I begin, let me give you a little background on me and why this story is something that I'm eager to talk about and want to share with you today. You know, when I became a Christian, I was 18 years old and I went to Bible college as a brand new, kind of newbie. And when I got there, I had a professor who told me that anytime you see somebody who claims to be demon possessed or there's demonic things, either it's a psychological damage or it's a physiological disease. That just doesn't happen anymore. And so, of course, me being a brand new person, I'm like, wait. In the Bible, he goes, well, it happened back then, but it doesn't happen like that anymore. And he had a reason for it. And so I was like, oh, well, that's great. I really appreciate that because, when you read stuff like that and you see the devil having hold over somebody like that, like we read in this text, it can be terrifying to think about. And so then you get people who are scientists who say, oh, that's just psychoses. And in essence, agree with the concept that it's either psychological damage or a physical disease. Okay. Well, here's what happened. I started getting involved in ministry and missionaries, and I started hearing stories from missionaries about their experiences with the demonic. Well, I'm going to be honest. I was like, well, see, but I learned at Bible college that that's just damage or disease. And so what happened is I started going on mission trips and meeting missionaries and hearing some stories that started to make me a little uncomfortable. And then here's the truth. I had some experiences myself, and I didn't know what to do with those because now all of a sudden here's my worldview that this is just psychology or disease, and I have to deal with something entirely different. And then myself, if you didn't already know this, for 5 years we were missionaries in Mexico City where we encountered things like that more often than I care to admit. So now, the reason I want to talk about this today is because that whether you've experienced that or not, right, our enemy still has some same things, and this teaching still has what I'd call a very strong merit for us today to understand, regardless of how you experience this or your doubt about it, or if you struggle with anything like this, or you're way overboard and you're like, yep, every time somebody's got the sniffles, that's a demon. Wherever you are on that spectrum, I think this text has some things to teach us. So let me just kind of run through where we are in this text. So right before chapter 5, you guys probably already remember this. They went through the storm and the teaching, and there's some, this weird experience where Jesus calms the storm, right? And he sends everybody, they go across the lake to the other side, to what's called the land of the Gerasenes. It was a way to get away from the crowds. Probably not a lot of Jewish people were going to go over there. Well, the text tells us, and you can follow right along in your Bibles on your app right here, right? When they land, a guy comes out of the tombs. That just is literally a place where everybody buried their dead. A guy had been living there. It says he was demonized. That's what the word in Greek actually means. Some people, their translation says possessed, right? But the word in Greek means demonized. Demons had really attached themselves and bothered this guy, right? He's the kind of guy who's constantly harming himself, trying to hurt himself. He's out of his mind. He has supernatural strength. He has been shackled. He keeps breaking chains. He's uncontrollable. But I love this. The text says he immediately comes and finds Jesus and says, "Why are you interfering?" That's the New Living Translation says this. The word literally in Greek says this: "What have we to do with each other?" In essence, right? What do you and I have to do with you and I? And it's kind of an idiom that says, right, you stay out of my business, I'll stay out of yours. And Jesus steps in because because Jesus told this evil spirit, leave this guy alone, come out of this guy. Well, these evil spirits say, no, we don't want to, leave us alone. Don't send us away, send us into those pigs. Now, you probably have already figured this out, that in that era, Jewish people did not eat swine, right? There's no pork belly. There's no pulled pork sandwiches, none of that. But this area is not for Jewish people. So Jesus allows these evil spirits to go into these 2,000 pigs, right? And these pigs all, in my mind, I imagine this kind of being like, what? No thanks. And they would rather be dead than have these things. And they rush into the water and are drowned. Well, the people who owned the pigs, who were taking care of the pigs, you can imagine how they felt. They run off. They tell the people in town. They come back and they find this guy, who everybody knew who it was, right? And the word that I love is sitting in his right mind, and he's dressed, and he's talking with a normal voice with Jesus. And then it says, when they saw that, everybody was scared, right? They were terrified, and they begged Jesus to leave them alone, to go away. But the guy who got all those demons taken away from him, he begged Jesus to let him go with him and continue and where Jesus was going to go preach and teach. And Jesus says at the end of this little story, this whole little text, he says, no, you go and tell your family and friends all that God has done for you. End of story. Whoa, what a crazy story, right? It's got the pigs and the demons and the stuff. And if you're like me, the first time I read this, when my professor told me demons weren't real, I was like, did that really happen? I'm old enough now, I believe without any shadow of a doubt that the Bible is true. It is true, true, true. I am convinced this happened. My experience as a missionary, the kinds of things, right? This is consistent with what I see God doing in people's lives. Imagine the people around Jesus. Can you imagine the poor disciples, right? They just went through this storm where Jesus went, hey, wind and waves, you guys knock it off. And they do. And it says the disciples were terrified. They were astonished. They're like, even the wind and waves obey this guy. Fair statement. Then he gets out of the boat, has this crazy encounter with this demon guy who's probably miserably gross and bloody and messed up and cut himself and strong. And Jesus has this encounter, and then the pigs all run out of the water. Can you imagine what these guys are feeling? And that poor demon-possessed guy. Can you imagine his joy at being set free and his desire to be near to Jesus? Man, that whole story to me is one of those texts that it takes me a minute to go, okay, Lord, what are you saying to us? So as I was praying about this and I was thinking about this, I wanted to just bring to you 4 things that I think are helpful for us today. Number 1, whether you know it or not, we still have an enemy. That's it. We have an enemy. There are forces, there are spirits, what the Bible calls principalities and powers that are opposed to Jesus and opposed to his people and don't want us to live in freedom of Christ. And you can see this. You know people in your life whose sin has got such a clinging hold on them, even if they wanted to get free, it feels like they can't. And there are some people, honestly, they don't want to be free of their sin. People are slaves to sin, caught up in it. And if you watch people that are really consumed by sin, it doesn't just destroy their life. It destroys their family. It destroys the people around them. It destroys their employment or sometimes their employer. Sin has this terrible mold, cancer, rot effect that goes outside of the person who's enslaved by it, and it just brings death all around. Even those of us who think maybe we don't have very much sin, our enemy is still trying to discourage, detract, enslave, ruin, deceive, you call whatever it is. But this text teaches us that there is something out there that is opposed to us. And it's not just society. It's not just mistakes we've made with our government. There is an active enemy against us. That's number 1. Number 2 is that people are worth a lot to God. So here is this person who's terribly miserable, and at the cost of 2,000 pigs, Jesus saves this guy. That was a lot of money to their owners, I'm sure of it. This is the kind of experience and moment where these guys were trying to make a living, and Jesus lets these pigs, get infested by demons or whatever because he wants to save this one person. Now that's a huge cost. But this concept that people are worth a lot to God doesn't just happen here, right? The idea that Jesus died for us, several times in the New Testament, it's referred to that the precious blood of Christ bought us back from sin. This is just another example that people are worth a lot to God. Even, ready, the worst, filthiest, meanest, most uncontrollable people in the world. That might not be you, but I know for a while it has been me. And I'm glad that I'm worth a lot to God. Number 3, you ready for this one? Being really close to Jesus, that's kind of scary. Now, I'm like most people. I like the idea of a Jesus who loves me, who wants to help me, who wants to teach me. But the truth is, when you get up close to Jesus, if you're really close to him, you sometimes are in a boat that feels like it's going to go underwater. You're sometimes around people that are so scary, they smell terrible. And he does things that are very confusing. And he costs people a bunch of money. And he calls people to do crazy things like sell everything and follow me. And here, honestly, if you're the kind of person who really wants Jesus in your life, he's kind of scary. So, there are some people, when Jesus comes close, they say, go away. No, thank you. But if you've been saved from a lot of sin, it's easy to say, I want to be near you as much as possible. The 4th thing is that the people that get saved, they get a task. I know. It's one of those things it's like, boy, that's almost too good at the end. But here's the truth. This poor guy wants to go with Jesus, and Jesus goes, nope, here's your job. Here's your job. You go tell your story. Now, if you're part of Compass at all, and if you've ever gone through Rooted, you know that that's one of the key things that we believe helps navigate people to God. To tell your story, right? We'll even teach you how in Rooted to tell your story. We'll even give you opportunities to tell your story. But the reality is that I could tell all kinds of folks about that. I believe that Jesus existed on the planet, and there's a time, and there's history, and there's apologetics and stuff. But people very seldom, if they don't want to listen, they won't. But if I get to know somebody and tell my story, almost everybody takes time to listen to that. So tell your story. All right, so number 1, we have an enemy. Number 2, people are worth a lot to God. Number 3, knowing Jesus can kind of be scary. And number 4, telling your story is our normal job. Now, this text is one of those that just, man, people can read it and be really worried, right? I know people can feel trapped by all kinds of stuff. And some of us take this and go, please, I don't want to even think about that. But I know that among people that are watching, there's probably some of you that feel a little bit trapped by sin. I want to encourage you to run to Jesus in spite of the fact that he's a little bit scary, right? I know that. One of the things about Rooted that we love is we give people a way to get rid of the strongholds in their life and find freedom in Christ. If you haven't done Rooted, please get involved with Rooted as soon as possible. Because when Christ finds a person and sets us free from sin, he gives us a life of meaning and purpose that's just hard to describe. You know, in the book, The Chronicles of Narnia, in the books, there's a book called The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And there's a story that a character named Aslan who represents Jesus. And these 4 children show up in the story, and they've not met him yet. And he's being described to them. And the truth is, in the story, he's represented by a lion, right? And the lion, of course, represents Jesus. And so here's the scene. The 4 children are meeting with Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, this character that know Aslan well. They know him and love him. And they're trying to describe to these children what he's like, right? So there's Susan and Lucy and Edmund and Peter. But I'm going to bring into this conversation, right, this little piece right here. Mr. and Mrs. Beaver talking about Aslan's coming, and he's gonna meet them soon. Oh, said Susan, I thought he was like a man. Is he quite safe? I shall feel rather nervous about meeting a lion. That you will, dearie, and no mistake, said Mrs. Beaver. If there's anyone who can appear before Aslan without their knees knocking, they're either braver than most or else just silly. Then he isn't safe? Asked Lucy. Safe? Said Mr. Beaver. Don't you hear what Mrs. Beaver tells you? Who said anything about safe? Of course he isn't safe. But he's good. He's the king, I tell you. Look, right now we look around our modern world. If you read the news at all, everybody is crying out how bad things are, about how the world is falling apart. Things are just too much. Man, how we need Jesus. But the reality is when Christ comes to save us, he asks us to give him everything, and he's a little scary. But let me say it again. Yep, he's scary, but he's good, and he's the king. So today, let me leave you with this. Take heart, friends. Despite the bad news all around, Aslan is on the move. The king is making things happen, and Compass is right in the middle of it. As you read this text, as you keep going through the book of Mark, keep praying, keep staying close to Jesus, keep telling your story, keep fighting back against the enemy. Because in the end, our king wins, and we matter a lot to him. We love you guys. Have a great day.
Man, thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope that that was a time of encouragement for you and a time of learning. And we would love to see you at one of our physical campuses or at our online campus this upcoming weekend. If you want to know more about locations and times, you can simply go to compass.church. But we hope to see you there, and we will see you next time on Compass Daily.